In a cramped, aging bus winding through rural roads, a 9-year-old black girl silently waves her hands, a frantic attempt to communicate. Passengers roll their eyes, muttering rude remarks. Then one blonde-haired boy leaps up from the back seat, shouting, "Stop the bus!" He insists she's signaling for help. Everyone thinks he's crazy. Yet the truth behind her desperate gestures is bigger, darker, and more life-changing than any of them could imagine. Hey fam, welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to like and smash the subscribe button as you prepare for a story of hidden truths, unexpected heroes, and a moment of kindness that defies prejudice. Amara, thin and anxious, sits beside a tall, middle-aged white man named Franklin. He gently pats her head and speaks with unnerving calm. "She has Parkinson's. I'm taking her to get treatment." The bus riders groan, unsympathetic, some even calling her dirty or bothersome. Then Ethan, a 10-year-old boy with bright, curious eyes, shouts for the driver to halt. He claims the girl's using sign language, not trembling from an illness. "She says she needs help. Don't let him take her." The driver slams the brakes, confusion rippling through the bus. Franklin grips Amara's shoulders, face taut. Ethan, phone in hand, dials the police, repeating that the girl's in trouble. Within minutes, flashing lights surround the bus. Officers board, scanning the scene. Franklin produces a stack of legal guardianship papers, all appearing legitimate. The child abduction alarm proves unfounded, legally at least. The police leave, exasperated passengers scold Ethan for wasting time, and the bus chugs onward. At the next stop, Franklin drags Amara off. Her pleading eyes lock on Ethan's. He can only stand there, helpless. Ethan eventually reaches the station, where his father, Robert, waits. Robert is a rugged businessman, dressed in a sharp suit, known for owning one of the region's biggest coal mines. Concerned by Ethan's rattled state, he asks, "What happened?" Ethan recounts the disturbing bus episode, begging his father, who wields money and influence, to help. Robert, though skeptical, sees the urgency in his son's eyes. He promises, "If she needs help, I'll look into it." Hope flickers in Ethan's chest. His father is no saint, but he adores Ethan and has the resources to intervene if something's truly wrong. The next day, Robert invites Ethan to his coal mine for a summer trip. Ethan roams the dusty landscape, intrigued by the massive machinery. Suddenly, he recognizes Franklin leading a small group of children, including Amara, inside a dark tunnel. She looks worn, clothes tattered, skin smudged with coal dust. Alarmed, Ethan tugs at Robert's sleeve, pointing, "That's the girl. Why is she here?" Robert glances dismissively. "Franklin's an employee. He finds poor kids who need work. We give them shelter, food, clothes. Better than starving." Ethan, uneasy, recalls how Amara signaled for help on the bus. But Robert, patting his son's shoulder, insists everything is fine. Ethan's doubts remain, yet he doesn't know enough to refute his father. Deep underground, reality is grim. Amara, along with many other black children, is forced to work in dangerous conditions. They lift heavy coal loads, their small hands raw with cuts. Franklin had tricked Amara's parents into believing she'd receive an education. Instead, she's effectively enslaved. Ethan, lonely and curious, returns to the mine day after day, forging a secret kinship with Amara. He sneaks her snacks, confused why she's always exhausted and trembling. Amara can't speak verbally, but her frantic sign language and frightened gaze say it all. Yet no adult believes Ethan's concerns, especially not Robert. One scorching afternoon, the mine resonates with a terrifying rumble. A vital tunnel collapses in a thunderous roar, choking corridors with dust and trapping several children inside. Panicked screams echo as workers scramble to evacuate. Franklin rushes into Robert's office. "Some of the children are buried under rock." Robert, more enraged about lost coal than children's lives, snaps, "Figure out how much production is lost." That's when Amara bursts in, tearful, signing danger. Children remain trapped. Robert ignores her pleas. "I don't have time to worry about a bunch of black kids." Moments later, Franklin returns, face pale. "Sir, Ethan's missing too." Robert's world freezes. The child buried in the collapse is his son. Recoiling in horror, he sprints outside, following the crowd gathered around a blocked entrance. Desperately, Robert tries moving rubble, but the risk of further collapse grows. He screams, calling his son's name. Amara steps forward, small and agile. She realizes only she can squeeze through the narrow gap. Without waiting for permission, she plunges into the dusty darkness. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Tension rips through Robert's chest. Then, through the gloom, Amara reappears, guiding a bruised, trembling Ethan to safety. Cheers erupt. Robert collapses, cradling his son. Eyes brimming with tears, he stares at Amara, the same child he dismissed. A rescue team arrives. News of the mine collapse spreads. Investigations intensify, revealing Robert's business relies on child labor. Franklin's guardianship papers are forgeries, part of a trafficking operation bringing in vulnerable black children to toil underground. Public outrage skyrockets. The local police gather testimony from children, including Amara. Her silent account, translated by an interpreter, speaks volumes. Robert can't hide from the avalanche of evidence. He's arrested on multiple labor violations, while Franklin faces harsher charges for kidnapping and trafficking. In court, Ethan sits beside his grandparents, tears in his eyes. He finally grasps the cruelty behind his father's empire. Meanwhile, Amara stands bravely, describing the false promises that lured her away from her family. The judge issues a damning verdict. Robert is guilty. The father who once brushed off children as worthless now faces prison time. The entire region awakens to the atrocities they once overlooked. Freed from the mine, Amara returns to her impoverished but loving home. Other rescued children are placed in supportive foster care. Though the scars run deep, they find fresh starts. Ethan, confronted with hard truths, visits Amara regularly, bringing books or small gifts. He tries to bridge the gap of guilt, writing apologies to her parents. Amara never blames him. She knows he was just a kid, powerless until he had the courage to call the cops and keep questioning. Their bond becomes a symbol of cross-cultural empathy. The story sparks broad reforms. Journalists expose other unethical minds. Local charities push for stronger child labor laws. People who once scorned or ignored kids like Amara realize the price of looking away. There's a surge in sign language awareness, so no child's silent cries are ever dismissed again. Robert, languishing in prison, sends Ethan remorseful letters. He confesses a new understanding. "I built my fortune at the expense of innocent children. I was blind to suffering until I nearly lost you." The father's transformation is painful. He learns that color doesn't define worth, actions do, and that ignoring humanity can lead to losing everything. Wheatley County never forgets that bus ride, when a boy recognized sign language and refused to stay silent. He overcame disbelief and legal loopholes to spark the downfall of a corrupt system. Amara, once voiceless, emerges as a figure of resilience. With the help of therapy and tutoring, she blossoms, dreaming of one day advocating for exploited children like herself. Ethan, despite his father's crimes, stands tall at school, explaining to peers that we can't overlook injustice because it's not convenient. Inspired by Amara's bravery, he joins local activism, volunteering to help underprivileged kids. People in the community talk about them as living proof that empathy trumps prejudice. In time, Ethan's grandparents host a small get-together. Children from the rescued group attend, laughing and playing in the backyard. Amara and Ethan climb a tree, reminiscing about how a single day on a bus led them to the darkest corners of a coal mine, and how it taught them compassion over color. Weeks turn into months. Most move on from the scandal, but Amara and Ethan's story endures as a cautionary tale against ignoring silent pleas. A local newspaper runs a feature titled, "Boy Who Saw Hands, the Day One Sign Saved Many Lives." It highlights how a marginalized child's hidden cry, recognized by a boy whose mother had been deaf, unraveled a criminal network. Ethan sometimes visits Robert in prison, forging a strained but hopeful new bond. Robert's regret is tangible. He thanks Amara in every letter, acknowledging that her bravery rescued not only Ethan, but also Robert's own conscience. In the end, the bus ride is remembered as the spark for real change. Amara no longer waves her hands to empty stares. She's learned that some people do listen, especially when hearts are open. And Ethan stands as proof that one determined child can topple towering injustices by daring to see beyond the obvious. Their story serves as a rallying cry. Never dismiss someone's desperation just because it doesn't fit your assumptions. By noticing what everyone else ignored, Ethan saved a life and ignited a chain reaction that exposed a web of cruelty. When a silent plea meets a willing heart, transformation happens. Amara's wave for help seemed lost amid the noise, until one boy recognized her sign and acted. The rest was unstoppable.